Welcome everyone to this joint webinar between Fujitsu and ServiceNow, and we're going to be discussing how to unlock revenue growth with ServiceNow, as this is the top priority for retail chief execs right now. We go on to the next slide. So my name is Jat Sahi. I'm the industry consulting lead for retail at Fujitsu. I work with many retailers in many different areas, and all of them are very challenged at the moment by the level of disruption in their industry. And we're seeing that a lot of those problems, which we'll be discussing today, can be helped and served by excellent platforms like ServiceNow. And joining me is from ServiceNow, our partners, James Walters.
Yep, so hi everyone, James Walters. So I'm the Global Technical Advisor at ServiceNow. So I look after Fujitsu as a partner, and we've been working together for a number of years, really building out the relationship and these types of example with looking at retail as that sort of retail sector lens on how ServiceNow can help you.
Excellent.
So if we have a little look at the agenda, please. So we'll be starting with the retail market disruptions and, of course, their opportunities. Then there's going to be a bit of a discussion on how we unlock, that revenue growth. We're going to touch into the ServiceNow platform and how, we are tailored for retailers, and then just have a little look on our next steps. So without further ado,
let's crack on. So I think the level of disruption in retail, everyone knows about that. Now, the real thing that's happening out there is a traditional value chain for retail and a traditional proposition is now losing its relevancy. So in the old days, when retail happened through stores, it was essentially about having products in a location that was near customers. So you'd set up a location, obtain the products, and then promote the location and the products to people and serve those people. Now, clearly, with online, location no longer really matters. We can get things delivered wherever we are. And even the products we have are quite easily interchangeable because of the many sort of options we now have online. Promoting those products and our services again is becoming more difficult because we've got a disaggregated media environment. We don't have a few TV channels and a few billboards. We've got thousands of different places we might need to go to find our customers. And the new value chain is still emerging, but I think it's starting to look a bit like this. We've stopped the focus on products and now the focus is on customers. So the first thing we need is to target, segment, if you like, and attract a certain customer base with some needs, and then obtain the products for them, and then inspire them to use those products and the benefits they could have with those products, and then serve them. So it's much more now about customers and their needs than a location fixed with products. And that means that we're going to have to bring in new processes, we're going to have new service elements to that. And all of these things, of course, we don't want to reinvent the good stuff that we do have. There are still products involved here. So we really want something that can layer on top of what we already have, rather than kind of throw away and need to start again. And James, is that somewhere where ServiceNow can help us?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a really good point that you make. We don't want to throw away all of the years and heritage that the retailers have got and how to do it properly. They just may have been limited in previous times with technology, or they had to do things in a certain way because there either wasn't technology there to help them, or that what was there was difficult to change. So really, we want to lean on that experience, being able to just, where we can automate things, do that, and how do we have a platform that can help us do that? And if we then have all of our back-end processes automated, it really then does leverage us into the future on creating new innovative products. Because that's really where, coming back to your point around attracting new customers, the market changes, the customer changes, the demographic changes. We need to be able to keep up to date with those and give them an agile framework that they can fail fast if it doesn't work, or trial things in a different way. And I think that's really where these platforms can, of course, like ServiceNow, can of course help us being able to bring those new products and get visibility on what things are going on operationally. We know they're all sorted, and that moves us neatly into the future.
Yeah, Yeah. Now, if we could have a look at the next slide. So you mentioned there trialing and experimentation and being able to move on. And I
Yeah.
think when we look at retailers' strategic priorities, we see that actually those priorities are a level of experimentation, because there's a lot
Yeah.
of unknowns in there and a lot of unknown unknowns, right? So, we talk about customer centricity. The new value chain now starts with a customer. So every aspect of that customer experience has to be thought about. It's not just simply a transaction of money for product. I think personalization, of course, we are seeing personalization and segmentation get ever and ever thinner, so that we can really, really be the most relevant sort of provider for that customer. Because
Mm.
customers have so many different options, being the most relevant is difficult, and it's difficult to understand how you can do it. And that's really a lot of experimentation going on in there to find out. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Uh,
I like your point about the experimentation around being able to trial and learn. I think that learning, when you move into like the smart stores, learn about customers' habits. I think you made a point before that once you've got that customer, they're already in a store. We really need to leverage the information that they're giving us, and we know who they are. We know we can, do cool things that Fujitsu do with like tracking. You said footwear. Wear. We can
hmm,
understand where they are, what are their habits, what are they looking at, and really be able to bring those new products. Are they working? Can we do
yeah,
things clever around that?
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a couple more here. I think like digital supply chain. I mean, this is really, as customers have got more demanding,
Yeah,
we need to have those connected end-to-end processes. People are expecting things quicker. They're more impatient than ever, and even the returns process, for example, which is costing at the moment retailers many millions of pounds, and is often not very carefully planned. They haven't planned for this in the way that they plan to push products
yeah,
out there. So all of these things, we can. Digital supply chain is a two-way street, right? And I think here again, a platform like ServiceNow can have some really, really valuable aspects to it. You
yeah,
mentioned,
definitely.
shops, smart stores. You're right. I think the role of the store, isn't just a distribution point now, right? It's a
Mm,
couple of other things. I think it's an engagement point. We are living in an economy, in a world where attention is really the thing we're all competing for. And I think in the past, retailers, didn't really have to fight for that attention. I know when I was younger, and I was a teenager,
not too long ago.
you go to the shops, right, on a Saturday.
Yeah,
That's what you did. But when I look at my children, they're playing on their Xboxes, yeah, on their
just
phone,
yeah,
and they're doing all of these kind of things. And so really, the store has to change. It needs to attract people in. It's the place where also you can really differentiate yourself, right? Because
mm,
it's the embodiment of a brand. And if you think about Apple stores, I think they do it wonderfully, right? They in that, you can buy any Apple product online, right? We all know
yeah,
what they are, we know what they look like. There's no real reason to go into that store. But actually, and they say their stores are town squares, because actually it's a place of identity and belonging, and actually having that brand experience that builds an emotional attachment.
yeah.
And
And I,
we need to experiment to know what works and what doesn't work in driving that.
Yeah, I think they made a really good point as well. When you go into store, they have what they call the Genius Bar, because
Hmm.
you're going to talk to somebody that's trusted advisor. Yes, they work for Apple, but they know that product inside out, and they can advise you. There's 4 different iPhones out at the moment. What
Yeah,
are you looking to get out of it? Which one is going to be better suited for you? Is it camera? Is it music? Is it storage? Is it? And you can have that conversation back and forth. I may not be buying anything today, but I'm going to keep using this store because I know I'm going to get that trusted help from them. And I think that really is an important part of belonging to a brand. That
yeah.
Apple, you then start upselling and being able to get more out of them.
Hmm. Yeah. And the last one here, real strategic priorities, really innovating the business model, as we say. As I was saying, the way the old business model is really struggling. It's losing its relevancy in many cases, not
Mm.
across all categories. You know, if you look at convenience grocery, for example, you can still say, you know, it's product in a location that is very convenient. But for a lot of categories, you know, we're looking at new business model innovation, and actually even in that convenience space, there's some new ideas that we want to drive. If we go to the next slide, you know, you'll see kind of why that is, and it's really because the paths a customer has towards an outcome are really growing. Yeah, so a few
Yeah.
years ago, if I wanted to drill a hole in the wall, you know, to hang up a picture or something, I'd probably have to go to a store, buy a product like a drill, and then use that product, and that would be my path to that outcome. But now, you know, well, very quickly, it was like I could go online, buy that product, have it delivered. Now, I could even go and find a handyman and take it as a service and book that service and then consume that service, or borrow or rent a drill even. And all of these new chains are needing us to connect parts of our business, not just internally, but possibly externally to other stakeholders, uh, make those processes reliable, know that they are happening, know that when there are problems with them, and also the customer service aspects of them become much more wide ranging. You know, in the old days of buying from stores, you know, customer service was really about, oh, this product isn't working or something wasn't available. Even just simply online delivery, you know, people having delivery issues became a new thing. And I mean, it's a great example at the moment, actually. Walmart have started to experiment in America with this delivering groceries straight into your fridge. So they would let themselves into your house using a code, which a lot of Americans have, and then they would, you know, fill your fridge up. And this was done as a trial. Now, the thing they found was actually people have a lot of dogs in America, right?
Big
And these,
scary dogs.
yeah, and so this process was being interrupted by people's houses have dogs in them. So some, you know, the person making the delivery didn't feel very comfortable about going into the house. And so, yeah, that little bit now quickly it tells you, okay, let's iterate on that process. Maybe we need to send a text to someone that morning and say, hey, please remember to lock up your dog or we won't be able to make that delivery. You know, and these things we can do if we have the right platforms. Yeah, we can trial these processes, we can get them right, and then we can scale them and keep all those different stakeholders happy, and also deal with all, you know, the customer issues that are inevitably gonna pop up as we're trialing things, and do that in a really manageable way with all the data, and you know, and able to have that visibility, that clarity of what's going on, which
Yeah.
then provides us with the indication of the competencies and the capabilities we need to build. And again, I think, you know, ServiceNow, what I've seen of it is a really strong platform for this.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, what you've been touching on there is ultimately what ServiceNow offers: task-driven workflow with automation. And what you've been speaking through there are different tasks that either the consumer needs to do, or the delivery driver needs to do, or the worker that's completing the order or taking the customer service agent. All of those are tasks that have workflows that sit behind them, and that's exactly what ServiceNow does in a nutshell. And we provide that portal, that single pane of glass, so you can then track and manage how many people are receiving that text that they need to lock up their dog. And we can provide that service to the end customer. It's all in one value chain, one digital process. We can then text the customer to then say, log into your portal, have a look, here's the time slots, you need to be back. There's all those different tasks and activities that can be built into ServiceNow,
Yeah,
to help support those. And it's
yeah.
really easy to do, especially with your connected fridge. Why wouldn't you want to connect that into ServiceNow and learn from, is things happening that we need to change? Is the temperature, all that sort of information that we can glean and learn from
Yeah,
the customer interaction.
yeah. And then the great thing about ServiceNow, I can imagine you can expand that process out. I mean, this Walmart with the dogs, for example, couldn't
Yeah.
we then, couldn't Walmart, for example, then offer, hey, we'll feed your dog while we're there?
Or walking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it starts to get you into other parts of customers' lives, and these new opportunities become available. Like I say, it's all about the customer and their life now, not
Yeah.
about our
Yeah.
products, not about our groceries. once we
And
recognize that, yeah,
I
so I
think
think
that's it.
it's,
You know, sorry, Jazz.
no, go on. I just think the possibilities are really exciting. As long as you've got something there that makes it easy, you know,
Yeah.
uh,
And that's
that's,
it, you know, making it easy, putting that process in place. That dog walking scenario we just touched on, that could be a different, you know, value stream. That would you even be interested in having somebody come round? Because dog walking as a service is something that people do because they have these, you know, precious dogs that live in their houses. They're there all day. How do we then find different value streams that we can then
mm,
start supporting? Put it in a product
yeah,
like ServiceNow, and away you go. You know, I
yeah,
think that when you're talking about the opportunity and the list is endless, I
yeah.
think we're onto something there.
Yeah. Well, just to add to that list then, because I think not only are customers' paths to an outcome growing, and
Mm,
multiplying, I think actually the outcomes customers want as well are really growing. And on the next slide, I think we have the what we call our customer experience grid at Fujitsu, and it takes a while to
yeah,
explain it all. But essentially, what it's saying is customers want different things, right? And top left of that grid is traditionally what customers wanted. They wanted a good price product, a convenient location where they would have it when they needed it, and with some quality assurance around it. Now, what we're starting to see is actually for retailers to be competitive, because the people in that top left are really good at Amazon, right? Let's face it, right? Great prices, get it to you really quickly, and those returns are really made simple for you, as well as of course the assurance of all the reviews they post up on their site. So really retailers need to start thinking about avoiding going head to head with Amazon, and thinking about the other outcomes customers want. And actually, customers are increasingly seeking advice from people who are listening to them and they trust. If you think, people don't, yeah, they want to be healthier now, right? They don't sort of say, I
mm,
want to go and buy vegetables. They go, I want to be healthier. And okay, vegetables could be a part of it, but what other things should I be doing? If we're going to be totally customer centric, there's lots of other advice and listening that we have to do to customers, which starts to incorporate, possibly new stakeholders, third parties that we can integrate to provide that fully connected customer experience. And I think more and more customers are wanting to do that. And then I've got these other things here as well. Customers also, in our attention deficit society, they want more surprises. We have got the
mm,
reason we keep going into our social media feeds is because they're different every time. Right, and the reason people get bored going into shops is because they're the same every time. And I think, and already retail operations are struggling, to make those changes. So we need a way of making change simple, of making it scalable, of making it reliable, and if it does fail, of being able to fix that, identify that, and fix that as soon as possible, so that we can change things up more often. If you look at retailers who are retaining footfall, they are the ones who are actually churning their stock quicker. People like Primark and Zara, and even Lidl with that middle aisle where they sell all that very interesting stuff.
yeah,
That's about that emotional engagement of surprise. But that can put a real stress on operations to be able to do these things. And we are being more event driven as well in retail. We've just recently gone through Black Friday, which a few years ago no one had heard of in the UK.
yeah, yeah,
And now has become a big thing and keeps retail relevant to consumers. And I think for me, the last one, that lower left square here, again, another outcome people are after when they are buying products and services is they are identifying with something. We mentioned Apple, for example, and I think a lot of Apple is about identity. It's about who you want to be and want to be seen as, and your values, etc. And that really does call for a much richer experience than simply picking up a product and paying for it and walking out of a store, or even checking out online. It's about content, it's about what people see, and it's about, I mean, Apple could destroy everything with a few bits of bad process, couldn't they? It needs
yeah.
to be seamless so that people can focus on what you want them to focus on. And I think there's so much, that we could be doing here in terms of driving new revenue growth by identifying these outcomes, these new outcomes people want,
Yeah.
identifying the paths to deliver them, to set them up, iterate, make them bigger, make them broader, and increase those revenues. And and I think ServiceNow is such a critical part to play in that. And what's a real pity for me actually is that a lot of retailers that have initially looked at ServiceNow as being something for an IT department. And
Yeah.
that's a terrible, terrible undersell of ServiceNow and its capabilities. I think it's, it can do so much for retail, and we need to get it out there. Have you got any ideas on how we might be able to do that, James?
Yeah, I think so. If we have is it the next slide? If we can have a little look at that for us, we will then touch on what we call the platform for retail. So really, we're focusing on operations, making sure that all of the back end processes are singing, and with interacting with vendors, they have a place that they can go, that they can see, how the process is working, if they need to make changes, what the SLAs are. And more importantly, we're looking at things like experience level agreements. What's the experience that people are getting? And yes, it's all fine saying operationally in the background, everything's working. But if you look at employees, what's their experience like when they're onboarding? If you have seasonal employees that come in, which a lot of retailers do, how do we get that onboarding and transition really singing and really working to its best of its ability? And being able to bring in like the mobile capabilities that a lot of seasonal workers, maybe students or maybe part-time, everybody's got a mobile. Wouldn't it be great if they could digitally sign a contract on their mobile and have that go straight to head office? And that's exactly what ServiceNow can do, with the employee workflows. If there are any documents about,
so we can connect all those prospective employees as well as our employees, right? And I mean, and there's so many times I go into retailers and you see the staff allocation unbalanced. You see, so many people in the wrong place or not enough people in the right place more often now. And you're starting to think, actually, you need to connect your people up, because this is a real problem. If customers have made the effort to come into your store, this is your opportunity to delight them. And that mobile capability you're talking about, James, we can connect all of our employees into delivering these awesome experiences, can't we?
Yeah. And that's it. If we took it a stage further, our employees are connected throughout the store. They've got a mobile. So if we know that customer footfall is going in a particular way or demand's going in a certain direction, there's no reason why we couldn't ping our employees and say, by the way, there's this increase in people going in that way. Go and see them, or give them maybe a bit of learning. Read up on the latest trends or fashions or product information that if you're buying a telly or whatever it is. And be able to talk through it on your phone, and that sort of interactive experience. We're talking to the customer workflows at the bottom there. What we're trying to do is give that experience back to the customers as well. They're on the same platform that everybody else is. All of that information is in one place, that single pane of glass, which makes for the intelligence layer just much more rich and inclusive, because we can learn from how we've been doing things in the past to then move forward and say, let's continually improve. Let's just not stake in the ground. Where are we today? Let's just keep going and using our intelligence layer, because we have machine learning, of course, that we can look at your historic data, how have people been interacting, how have your employees been working, and then start, really looking into the future with that.
So you can really start to bring in things like machine learning into your live operational processes, which is,
definitely.
I mean, the interesting thing is, for me, when I speak to retailers, they think that's something that's a years away, and I'm going, no, you can have it now. It's here, it's now, it's real, and it's on a platform that is easy to deploy and well proven, being used by hundreds of people around the world to do exactly that. So
thousands, if not
thousands. Well, I can only get around so much, man.
Of course. But yeah, really, just finishing off on that slide there, the operation side, it isn't quite as attractive as maybe some of the others, but If we think about IoT and
Mm.
connecting people and devices, that's where operationally it really starts coming into play. Using the information that's out there, we're not a data lake, but we can take feeds of events, of triggers and things that have been happening to then kick off another workflow, to then spin
Yeah.
up, a different application maybe that can help support that process,
Mm.
seasonalities, all of that sort of good stuff.
Yeah, and that's really, I mean, that automation part. Let's face it, in the UK especially, we've got minimum wage, we've got new business rates. There's a lot of cost pressures on retail at the moment.
Yeah.
So if we are able to bring in automation and able to use the staff that we have more efficiently and get them focused on the right things, I think there's, every retailer is trying to do that.
Definitely. What do we have next?
Oh, we've got some retail use cases. I think we've covered some of these here.
Yeah, I think it's good just to have these, just to sort of show you what we mean by the operations optimized. We've talked about the monitoring and detection of alerts. I think that's more in the IT space. But if you think of a retailer that has fridges, that they want to understand if that fridge is working at optimal performance because food's going to go off if it isn't. We need to bring that information in so we can track and then alert somebody to then say, by the way, that fridge has got a fault with it. Link that into our customer service and our field service management application that we can then send an engineer and get them scheduled and fix the problem before they happen. Because we all know downtime or the store's not looking right because it's surrounded in that fridge isn't working or that part of the environment's not right. It puts people off. So that customer engagement, that 360-degree view of what they're doing and how we're optimized in the back end, I think that really does mean that when we're transforming products and bringing different trends and metrics and analytics to it, that just helps us drive forward. So I think we have covered most of these. But of course, reach out to Jet and I afterwards if there are any more that you want to have a deeper dive into.
Yeah. I think where ServiceNow has come from and where it is now, it's really amazing to see that growth because you can see all of those real sort of bits of core expertise you built in the IT space where there's a lot of complexity, silos, different connections. In streamlining that, these are the same principles. These are the same principles being deployed in a way that really does serve the business at a much more holistic level. I think it's great to see that happen. And
that's where our investment's been. So we've taken people from the market in HR. They don't know ServiceNow, but they know HR. So they've come on board to ServiceNow. And we've got business units in all these different areas to then tell us we want to just make the software and make it as brilliant as it can be. How do we change that? What is it that's going to make HR people go, wow, this is completely amazing? Likewise in the retail sector. That's why we talk to experts like you, Jack, so we can really understand what retailers are doing and how we help them.
Yeah, and I'm happy to have the conversation because you can help them and they need help. So
that's good.
So what's our next slide here? Right. So look, this is about us and our partnership. So we have been the Global IT Workflow Partner of the Year. Some of the highest customer satisfaction scores that you monitor very carefully. I know you monitor your partners really, really carefully. And over 800 projects we've already delivered. And I know of many retail projects we are in the throes of delivering right now, and with some excellent feedback from the customer on our progress so far.
Yeah. I think this slide for me just highlights the depth and breadth that Fujitsu bring as a ServiceNow partner. And that's the reason why they got awarded the IT Workflow Partner of the Year, and the customer examples that sit there. Customer satisfaction to us is really important, and customer success. We want to make sure that they understand the ServiceNow platform and what it can bring to them. All of that visibility, that velocity, and that experience. And we have offerings, of course, that can help that. But we really want to make sure that our customers are successful and they get the value out of the product once they're on. And speaking to any of those customers there, we have our main events, Knowledge, which is hosted in Orlando this year. 80% of that content is delivered by customers and Fujitsu's customers, because they're telling their story as to how the ServiceNow platform has helped them.
Are you saying you don't need me there, James? Is that what we're saying
Oh,
here? I don't
definitely.
get
I
no ticket to
definitely don't need
Orlando.
to.
Well, I think
Without a
we're
doubt.
about there for time, are we? I think, and I think that, yeah. So, look, if you are interested in knowing how ServiceNow can help you as a retail business and how it can do, so much, and all of those use cases we've talked about, or you thinking of a use case and want to see if it's possible, then yeah, please do reach out to us. My email is there, James's email is there, and we're both on
Yep.
LinkedIn as well. We've worked pretty much hand in glove, so talk to one of us and you'll get both of us. So James, anything else to say before we say goodbye?
No, I think that's it. Thank you for having us. And yeah, as I say, LinkedIn or reach out to us on email. I'm more than happy to answer your questions. So
Great,
thank you
lovely.
very
So
much.
thank you very much, everyone.